Hello, Watcher Chat here with a reminder that life is short. Buy the watch. Today we're going to talk about Grand Seiko, and in particular, why I think there's an impending problem with the brand unless they do something about it soon. I'll start by saying that I am a fan of Grand Seiko. In fact, I own one, which is this Grand Seiko white birch here. I bought this because it is really well finished, solidly built, the dial is amazing, the movement is incredible. And this is actually a high beat movement at 36,000 beats with an 80-hour power reserve. You can see that the movement finish is incredible, and I've actually done a video previously on this watch. I probably didn't do it much justice, so I'll get some better shots now. We can see some of the macro shots as well. The finishes of it is absolutely incredible. And arguably the movements are even better than those of some of these Swiss companies. But herein lies the problem. Although I'm a fan of the white birch and Grand Seiko in general, I can't bring myself to buy another watch. The reason being that they're all very similar. They're basically just dial variations of one another. Even between the two movements, yes, the high beat and the spring drive are very different. However, they'd still look the same. The case shapes, the design style, and while there are other watches in the lineup, divers and GMTs, the sports models, they just seem a little bit unrefined and look a bit too close to the Seikos. It makes it difficult to part with big coin if you're buying the same, or if not same, very similar watch. The watches are technically brilliant. They are very accurate. The Zaratsu polishing is incredible and the finishes are exceptional. And they've also improved the accuracy with a release of a new UFA ultrafine accuracy watch. However, they seem to be focusing in the wrong areas. In terms of accuracy of watch, no matter how hard they try, a mechanical watch is never going to be as accurate in telling the time as digital. Yet, they seem to be putting all their eggs in one basket. Yes, of course, it's a technical marvel, but is it really that big a deal? Seems to be incremental increases, but focusing all the attention on something with the diminishing returns. And then with the dial variations, same watch, just multiple dials. It's as if each time they release a new dial, it dilutes the watch. The Grand Seiko brand is also a bit of a strange one. Grand Seiko being a separate business to Seiko, it still carries the Seiko name. And while Seiko's watches known for affordability, arguably they are creeping up in cost now, but by comparison they still are relatively affordable. Yet, you almost dilute by continuing with the Seiko name. I don't think there's much they can do about that. I think it's pretty much in for a penny, in for a pound now. But you have to admit, it is a bit confusing. But the data doesn't lie. Grand Seiko are actually killing it. Seiko in general are killing it, because their sales are outpacing that of the Swiss. However, you have to be really mindful that purely because of the economic conditions of Japan with a really weak yen. So it makes it a bit more attractive proposition, the affordability of it and the value for money, as opposed to the actual desirability of the product itself. And while watches aren't always the best investment, if you want to make money, there's better things to invest in than watches. You still want some retention value. And Grand Seiko, and Seikos in general, lose significant value upon purchase. The naming convention is also extremely confusing. It's a mouthful each time you talk about the reference numbers on these watches. In fact, if you jump on their website, you have to really depend on visuals because the catalogue is so vast and wide and the reference numbers are just ridiculous. So what can they do about it? To be honest, I think they just need to chill out a bit. The number of dial variations is really a problem. The more dials there are, the more diluted the watches become. You don't really want to buy it because you're waiting for what if the next dial is more attractive. Because at the moment, they're very good to look at, but not necessarily to buy. I think what they've got going for them is that they do stand separate to other watches. In particular, they're not really competing with the Swiss, although they're set up for that. You'd be hard-pressed to find another Japanese manufacturer that is producing quality as good as Grand Seiko at this price point. I really think that they need to keep the Seikos at a really set price point, and that allows Grand Seiko to differentiate quite considerably. People are willing to pay for the quality, but not when the gap between affordable watches such as the Seiko and the Grand Seiko are starting to diminish. The gap is starting to tighten. They also need to tidy up the catalogue and consolidate the collection a little bit better, just to clean it up a bit and make it less confusing. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm just tripping? Either way, if you like that video, please click like and subscribe, and remember, life is short. Buy the watch.